we voted on a resolution to help a young woman that somehow feels that she was treated differently. And we have an issue with that just simply because of the climate that we're having today, is that we seem to be having questions asked having to do with immigration or citizenship. And this particular case, this young woman was needing emergency medical services, and that kind of reared its ugly head. And we don't believe that it belongs there, and that's the reason that we're here. So I want to introduce Stacy Gonzalez to tell her story. And again, we're looking for dialogue. We're looking to build bridges. We want the other side to come and sit down at the table with us and discuss and hear everybody out. And then we can go from there to continue to work with city services so they're offered, and everyone, whether it's a resident or a citizen, is treated fairly and with dignity. Thank you so much. Stacy?
Hi everyone, good morning. My name is Stacy Gonzalez. I will be speaking first in Spanish. Telemundo here, I will use word time. So, yo me llamo Stacy Gonzalez y muchas gracias por estar aquí. Muchas gracias por estar aquí. Is it the mic on?
Yeah.
Do I need to move?
No, you're good. You're just gonna go straight to the camera.
Oh.
There's nothing.
Okay.
You're good.
Muchas gracias por estar aquí en apoyar a nuestra causa. Hoy estamos aquí para hablar de los servicios públicos, especialmente de los médicos. Aquí tenemos varios casos hoy, no solo mi caso, sino tenemos a Judy Castillo, tenemos a la señora Quiros, que también han sufrido injusticias. Tenemos a Rob Slater, tenemos aquí a Tammy Lang y César Espinosa, que han sido advocatas de la comunidad. Y pues el 12 de abril de 2025 estuve involucrada en un accidente automovilístico que yo quedé en una situación vulnerable. En lugar de recibir la atención que yo necesitaba, experimenté un perfil racial dentro de nuestros servicios médicos. Cuando los paramédicos llegaron al lugar del accidente me ignoraron. Yo estuve ahí visiblemente. En vez de darme esa atención, no me ha priorizado, y no fue hasta que las otras personas me señalaron que yo necesitaba la atención. Bueno, esta rueda de prensa fue convocada para romper el silencio sobre lo que me ha sucedido y exigir reformas inmediatas. Lo que experimenté no es solo un incidente aislado, es una situación que está pasando en la comunidad y es parte de un problema más grande. Este problema se trata de un problema sistémico que afecta a muchas personas de color en todo el país, en toda la nación. Y sabemos, según en un informe de 2019 del Instituto Nacional de la Salud de Minoras, que el 35% de afroamericanos, 29% de los hispanoamericanos han experimentado discriminación. Y en tornos de atención médica, incluidos los servicios de EMS. Y pues estamos aquí para compartir mi historia, sino para estar junto a aquellos que han enfrentado una discriminación similar. Y pues quiero introducir el joven Rob Slater para que hable su parte. Yo después voy a hablar en inglés para los que están acá que hablan inglés. Rob Slater.
Thank you for having us. My name is Rob Slater, founder, CEO, community advocate of the Culture Commission Coalition. I come before you all with one point and one purpose: to speak to the community as one American. For all of us to just listen and take heed to the situation that unfortunately Ms. Gonzalez has endured, and unfortunately that for my heritage, we have been doing it for years and years and years, so we can speak firsthand to this. In times of crisis, the unwavering trust we place in our first responders is the cornerstone of our community. When that trust is broken, it's not just a fracture in our faith, it is a call to action. Our first responders are held at an extraordinary standard of responsibility that is sustained by the equal measure of accountability. When that responsibility is compromised, the accountability lever must shore up the deficit with swift actions in hope of restoring the balance of trust. Now, when both responsibility and accountability from our law enforcement and first responders and elected officials have failed, we the people must become the unwavering line of defense for justice with the responsibility to stand as one and hold ourselves accountable for what we accept. And this is not acceptable. An evil spirit fueled by hatred, racism, and other vile prejudices have manifested into the fabric of our democracy. We must unite. And I'm speaking to all of the African Americans in our African American community and others to unite with our Latino community because now is the time. We must stand shoulder to shoulder with our Latino community, recognizing that our strength lies in our solidarity. Together we will confront the challenges of this revolutionary cultural war, advocating for justice, accountability, and the restoration of trust. In unity, we find power to demand change and foster a future where all voices are heard, respected, and celebrated. This is a call to action for all of us to put our values over our views, and lift our voices so that our vision of equality, freedom, and justice for all is a dream that is no longer deferred. Let me repeat it. Put our views aside and come together on our values. We stand with our Latino community, we stand with Ms. Gonzalez, and we will ensure that justice shall be the number one gift for all. We stand with you. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Stacy, and I'm Executive Director of FIA. It is sad that in 2025, people get judged not by the content of their character, but by the color of their skin. Somebody's skin color, or accent, or physical features should not dictate the way they are treated. In our Pledge of Allegiance, it says, with dignity and justice for all. And we are made to repeat these words oftentimes throughout our entire life of dignity and justice for all, when sometimes that promise falls very, very short. We wish this wouldn't have happened, but we thank Ms. Gonzalez for stepping up, because she will lead the way for other people to stand up and speak the truth and speak their truth, so that together we can change our future. So we stand with you, we stand together, and at the end of the day, we stand against all those people who seek to separate us and who seek to demean us by their actions and their words. Mi nombre es César Espinosa y soy director ejecutivo de FIA. Hoy estamos aquí con la señorita González porque una promesa que se hace en nuestra misma Constitución de los Estados Unidos, que dice que hay dignidad y justicia para todos, es una promesa que no siempre es cumplida. La manera que alguien se ve, los idiomas que hablan, sus acentos, sus formas físicas, no tienen que dictar cómo son tratados. En el caso de la señorita González, ella fue discriminada por muchas cosas, y nosotros estamos aquí para juntos decir que no vamos a permitir que eso pase, que juntos vamos a parar que esto pase, que juntos vamos a educar a todos para que al final del día podamos combatir todos los sistemas que están en proceso que permiten que esto pase. Estamos aquí y le agradecemos, aunque estamos tristes que esto haya pasado a la señorita González. Le agradecemos que ella haya tenido la valentía de hablar de esto, porque al final del día otras personas pueden contar sus historias y así podemos hacer cambios sistemáticos. And at the end of the day, We thank everybody who's here with us. We see a representation once again of Houston, of a diverse group of people coming together, because we believe that if they come for one of us, they come for all of us. And I want to acknowledge Bishop Dixon, who just walked in the room. He's a great brother of mine who's marched. We marched together, we cried together, we laughed together, but at the end of the day, we're still together. So thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Friends, neighbors, fellow Texans, we are here today with a unified voice, a voice that cries out, Texas, we have a problem. As the founder and executive director of the Honey Brown Hope Foundation, I thank God for allowing me to stand with Ms. Gonzalez and my fellow community leaders. We are united in one crucial demand: accountability and public services. Now, public safety, especially during those crucial moments of emergency response, depends on ethical conduct and unwavering respect for human dignity. Every single individual, regardless of their background or circumstance, deserve to be treated with the utmost respect and compassion, particularly when facing emergencies. Yet, on a regular basis, my heart is heavy as I receive desperate pleas for help from individuals who have been victimized by the very entity entrusted with the responsibility of providing life-saving assistance. 2 vehicular cases in Dayton, Texas, involving Elisa Salazar and Madeline Quiros serve as bleak reminders of this potential injustice. We, the community, question if the Dayton police and firefighters, along with Liberty County officials, fail in their duty to properly respond to the well-being of these individuals because of their ethnicity, their Latino heritage. If their ethnicity play a role in the lack of care they received. With the deepest concerns of the well-being of our entire community, we demand respect for human dignity, clear and transparent communication, and full accountability in decision-making. These are not mere requests. They are essential pillars of building trust and ensuring that the public understands how our vital resources are allocated and how emergency responses are managed. Therefore, we stand here today in unwavering unity to deliver a clear and powerful message. We demand accountability in public services now. Thank you.
Buenos días. Good morning. My name is Judy Castillo. In May of 2023, I made a choice that would change the course of my life. As a teacher, I stood up for my students when their graduation sashes were removed as they walked the stage. En el 2023, yo decidí resignar a mi posición de más de 14 años como maestra y alzar la voz por 20 alumnos que habían servido 100 horas de comunidad y resignar a mi puesto como maestra para alzar la voz para ellos. Mientras ellos caminaban en el escenario, sus estolas, que eran de zarape, fueron removidas por el superintendente de high school. Por el superintendent of high schools decided to remove my students' sashes. It wasn't just about pride. It was a moment of achievement. These students worked 100 hours to earn those, gave up their late arrival days. In the district, en el distrito de Humble ISD, 100-year history, there was never, and I said was because finally after these elections we have one Latino elected, but in 100 years, en 100 años, jamás había un candidato electo a la mesa directiva de educación. Yet, 38.9% of the student population is Latino. El 38.9% de la población de ambos son latinos. El 56% de la población de ambos son latinos. 56% of the population are Latinos. I could no longer stay silent or stand by. I resigned from my teaching position and announced my candidacy to represent my community, to be a voice for equity, for mental health support, and for students in special education, issues that matter deeply and affect all students regardless of race. That moment I declared my candidacy, I became a target. Este año, enero de 2025, enero 15, cuando yo anuncié que me iba a lanzar a la candidatura del distrito, fue un tiro al blanco para ellos. Empecé a recibir mensajes de odio racial por las redes sociales. I began to receive hateful messages of social media mocking my appearance, telling me to deport myself, and insisting that English is the only language that matters. Me mandaban mensajes raciales de que me deportara, que ahorita el idioma oficial es inglés. They accused my campaign of being based solely on race, ignoring the broader issue I'm fighting for. Then on Friday afternoon, 2 weeks ago, Friday afternoon, between 2:30 and 3:30 p.m., my home was vandalized. Hace una semana y media, el viernes de la semana antepasada, mi casa, justo antes de las elecciones fueron mayo 3, mi casa fue vandalizada a la luz. Y alguien trató de entrar y me dejaron un mensaje en mi puerta que decía, deport her, depórtenla. This isn't just discrimination, it's an attempt to silence me through fear and violence. Esto no es solo discriminación, es un modo de callarme, de tratar de intimidarme por medio de odio, por medio de violencia. What I'm experiencing is unacceptable. Lo que yo experimenté es inaceptable para cualquier candidato que está tratando de hacer un cambio en su comunidad, especially for anyone seeking public office, one pursuing a role in community service. Because let's call to attention, trustees is a community service. There's no pay. It continues community service for the public that you're seeking. I demand urgent attention to this matter. Violence and hate have no place in our democratic process. La violencia y el odio no debe de ser parte de nuestro sistema democrático. No one should be threatened or attacked or daring to represent especially when one is trying to represent our community. So I am here in solidarity with Ms. Gonzalez because whatever she experienced wasn't a Tascasita. This is a call for attention. In the Humble community, we're experiencing violence, we're experiencing hate against the Latino community, and it's time we stand up in solidarity. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Marina Hernandez Quiroz. I am the mother of Madeline Quiroz. I'm here as a mother. We live in Dayton, Texas, Liberty County. We started this fight in 2020 because my daughter was a passenger in a vehicle at leaving school to go eat crawfish. The vehicle that she was driving in, the driver and another driver began racing. And the driver that my daughter was in the vehicle, she wrecked out, and my daughter is now a paraplegic because of this car crash. As we were saying earlier, how EMS has failed the people of color. That holds really strong in Dayton, Texas, Liberty County. My daughter sat or laid in that back seat while the primary paramedic attended to the driver, who's Caucasian, lower level injuries. Never let go of her cell phone. But my daughter was in the back seat with a broken back, spinal cord injury, 5 broken ribs, heart collapsed lung. She had internal injuries. She had blood coming out of her face. We don't know where. Out of her mouth, out of her nose. Long story short, EMS failed my daughter. The Dayton Police Department failed my daughter. The Dayton Police Department, part of the administration, they protected the driver. They had someone come into the active crime scene and remove evidence and stole my daughter's cell phone. For 5 years, we didn't know who this man was. We finally found out who it was. But they can't charge him with any crime because statute of limitations have expired. But I found out the DA already knew years ago who he was. But they will not leave with me. My daughter is Hispanic, but the people of color are being treated unfairly. And I know this because I'm also an advanced investigator in law enforcement. I've had to put my career aside to take care of my daughter full time because she is currently a paraplegic, who is actually in a hospital today. I've been with her in the hospital. I came directly from the hospital. However, I pulled Wayne Doshvino, pulled 96 accident reports because we wanted to see if there was a history of this type of events. And sure enough, the people of color on 96 accidents, you will see the differential treatment, people of color and Caucasian people. Which accidents get investigated, which do not. My daughter on that scene should have been life flighted immediately. Life flighted should have landed on 90. They didn't do that. They actually had an argument on the scene about even calling life flight. When they finally got through that part, they had my daughter transported from a second ambulance that came in. My daughter was never assessed on the scene. Never assessed on the scene for the primary paramedic with life-threatening injuries. They took her and drove her further away from any medical facility to Liberty, the city of Liberty. Then they called life flight. It was an hour and a half later before she arrived to Herman Memorial Trauma 1 she had to go into emergency surgery. And that should not have been an hour and a half delay because you have 1 hour, the golden hour with that type of injuries to help assess her so that she would have a better outcome. And when she was talking about threats, that they try to silence you, I am so grateful to my attorney, Ms. Lewis. Ms. Lewis, would you please come up? I want the public to know how this warrior stood beside us. She was initially going to take my case, but I wasn't able to at the beginning of the onset, so we had another attorney take on the case. That attorney dropped me hours before statute of limitations because she said small town threats are real. And she dropped us because of fear. She had a gun on her because she was so fearful. Liberty County, you're not going to shut me up. Dayton, Texas, you're not going to shut me up. The Texas, we stand together, and we're going to fight this to the end. And I want to thank Ms. Lewis. This is my attorney, and I thank her for standing beside me.
If I could add just something really quick. First responders are they take on duties. They take on duties, and they also take on an oath to help the community. These are special people. The first responders are very special people, but what makes them special is not their title, is not their occupation. It is because they take on this duty. They take on the duty not to prioritize who's important. They don't take on the duty to make sure, they take on the duty to make sure that people are taken care of in any way, whether it be a first responder as a law enforcement officer or a paramedic. The issue here is when you take on this duty to run into danger, you do it because you know that it's necessary. You do it, and you do it without ignoring people when you do it. This ignoring of certain communities has got to stop, and these people need to be weeded out because they're not special. And if that means being weeded out from the top because of the practices they allow to continue, because they see these reports just like everybody else that can get access to them through open records. They actually have these reports. And when you see this trend of investigations for minority communities or community members being different than anybody else, there has to be something done. And again, that starts at the top. And the top can weed these individuals out and not allow them on the street or in their organizations. And if they're not willing to do it, then the top needs to go. And that is just the bottom line. Nobody should be in these positions of needing care, and when the threat of harm, of serious injury will go forward if they're not having immediate treatment. Nobody should be in that place to have to cry for two reasons in this instance: because they're hurt and because they're not being acknowledged as a human being. So I just wanted to add that to this, that we have to make sure that we as a community hold the top accountable, and as it all the way down to the bottom.
So now we've heard from each speaker on their case, and I will now go into what happened to me on April 12th. So today I stand for you because I've experienced firsthand the reality of racial profiling. The very system that's supposed to protect us. And instead of being immediately cared for, I was ignored because of how I looked. When EMS arrived, they went straight for the white couple involved. And it wasn't until the other party initiated that I was hurt, that I was even acknowledged. So how this relates is the same as Mrs. Guido's situation, where her daughter was not acknowledged quick enough. It's very prevalent in our communities of color, our African American brothers and sisters, our Hispanic community. So this situation isn't just an isolated incident. It's a pattern that impacts many of us in this room today. And from a 2019 report, it's been said that 35% of Black Americans and 29% of Hispanics report experiencing discrimination in healthcare settings, including EMS services. So this isn't just happening to me, it's happening all around us. So it's not only about me on what happened on April 12th. It's about, and it isn't just about one person's failure. It's a reflection of a much larger systemic issue. When I was ignored, it wasn't just about poor treatment, it was a violation of my rights. My rights that I'm a US born citizen, that I should have. The founding fathers gave us all. So the violations that were violated that day, Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, that is supposed to protect us. It's supposed to prohibit discrimination in federally funded services like EMS. The HIPAA is supposed to protect our medical privacy. The 14th Amendment guarantees equal protection under the law. These laws aren't just words on paper. They're the foundation of the country we live in. And when we're ignored, it's not just disrespectful, it's dangerous and harmful for all of our communities. So the truth is, racial profiling in services like EMS creates an environment of fear. And we can't live in fear. We're human beings. For For example, Latino Americans are 38% more likely to experience delays in receiving a medical emergency care compared to white Americans, as noted by the Institute of Medicine. This research comes from the Harvard University. Another statistic shows that Black and Latino patients are 2.5 times more likely to experience delays in emergency medical situations. This is affecting us on a daily basis. The bottom line is we need people like today, that we have all these leaders to stand united and to speak about this and let the community know that you can speak about this. Todos los líderes acá estamos aquí para hablar contra la discriminación, para decir que no hay que tener miedo de hablar y juntos que podemos cambiar. Juntos desde abajo para arriba a cambiar estas reglas, estas leyes que deben de protegernos, that these laws that should protect us. So on that day, I was in pain and needed care, but instead of receiving attention, I was ignored. Fred Jones, the EMS lead, turned the situation into a personal interrogation. He asked me questions about my citizenship, where I was from, where I was born. He even questioned my social security number. Those are not normal questions you should ask in a line of care. When you're strapped in an ambulance, unable to do anything, vulnerable. So even though I don't have a broken back, I'm missing a leg, it shouldn't get to that point where I'm dead, missing a leg, or have a broken back. I am standing before you with 2 herniated discs, but it shouldn't get to that point to where our stories are heard. To where Mrs. Quiro's daughter is a paraplegic now. To where Mrs. Judy Castillo was running for office and her home was vandalized. So later on, I discovered that Fred Jones was in fact not Fred Jones. He was Mark Mullins. So that's another falsified information that we're further investigating. Falsificación de información de mi médico que me engañó de su nombre, que eso no debe de pasar, estamos investigando. Y pues lo que yo quiero cerrar es ¿qué debemos de hacer ahora? ¿Qué es la solución? ¿Qué es la solución? What should we do now? What is the solution? So we need immediate and concrete reforms. I'm calling for a full investigation in the conduct of EMS lead Fred Jones, a formal apology and public acknowledgement from Harris County EMS, disciplinary action for discriminatory behavior, mandatory anti-bias and cultural competency training needed. If we had that training, that wouldn't have happened to Ms. Quiros. If we had that training with even the police, they would have responded more effectively to our situation. We need public reporting and oversight to ensure accountability. And we need policy changes to prohibit non-medical immigration style questioning during emergency care. So I will not be silenced. I'm speaking out today, not for myself, but for everyone else. So my name is Stacy Gonzalez. I am a mother, I'm an advocate, former public servant, and a professional. And I'm here together with my brothers and sisters. Let me introduce Mr. Johnny Mata.
Thank you, Stacy. For some of you that may know me, I've been in the trenches a couple of weeks, and I learned a lot. But in reality, I am the chairman of the Greater Houston Coalition for Justice. My colleague, 2 of them, NAACP, LULAC District Director. Tammy's also a member. And we have been here in this argument day and night. We have met with the Justice Department. We have met with all kinds of officials. And all we did is deaf ears. Also, we were very involved in changing the grand jury Texas, of Harris County, because the system was broke, it was biased, and we changed it. But let me tell you the bad news. Based on the political rhetoric that took place last year, we're now dealing with dehumanizing of color, Latinos, Latinas, Afro-Americans, and others by public servants, hate crime enablers, and the time is now to expose and let it be known this bigotry will not be tolerated and it has consequences. But I want to tell you, democracy in America, the United States of America, land of the free, is in danger of losing its freedom. We're not only angering our allies, but we're changing laws, like the Voting Rights Act, the Justice Department being disassembled. So the next step is the 14th Amendment. And we're not saying that people of color are only whites or have racist tendencies, because you see many here that are fighting for our cause and their cause. We're all in jeopardy of losing democracy. And I will tell you that in our agenda, Congressman Al Green was called a boy. We have a resolution. We don't need apologies. We want results. We want prosecutions. And we want changes all the way to Congress. We sent all your things to do away with programs that Meals on Wheels, where many disabled seniors and veterans will not be able to eat. Who's going to feed them? And I could go on, but for the sake of time, the coalition has another big youth conference coming on a lot of issues. And we intend to bring not only it's not racial profile, it's targeting people of color that they don't want us here. But let's look at it this way. Who's gonna pick up the crops that we eat? If you deport every Mexican and Mexican American or U.S. citizen, because that's what's happening today. There's a disregard to due process. And I'll close with this. We're gonna bring due process. None of these elected officials anywhere, Republican, Democrats, or Independents, were elected permanently. It's a community that can change that, and that's what's gonna happen. Thank you. Wanted to say why you're here, part of the commission, just like Tammy spoke, and of course you heard from our district director. Go ahead.
Thank you to the iconic leader on behalf of civil rights, Johnny Mata. Let's just give him a hand, please. And all of these warriors for justice and peace and righteousness, thank you for turning even your stories of pain into messages of power. Because it's very important that we do that. It's unfortunate that it takes pain sometimes before people can really understand the gravity of what discrimination, injustice, prejudice, and bigotry looks like. But I am so moved by the stories that I've heard today, and each one of you, and I could come compliment on each other. My name is James Dixon. I'm the president of the Houston chapter in the ACP, pastor of the Community Faith Church, and I wear several hats throughout the day. But I am, at the end of it, a servant. To serve with everyone who's working on making our society a just, equitable society for all people. I think that it needs to be said, Brother Johnny, that none of us here are new to this struggle, but we're not exhausted. The fight, Tammy, continues, and it's unfortunate that in 2025, we're still grappling with what Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. described as man's inhumanity to man. When you think about the heinous challenges and crimes that have been committed against individuals like this beautiful sister's daughter, that's man's inhumanity to man. You talk about Congressman Al Green being called a boy, a racial slur. That's man's inhumanity to man. Think about your home being targeted because you have decided to seek office and to bring about positive change, not just for Latino students, but for all students in Humboldt HISD. Those attacks are indications of man's inhumanity to man. Think about the unlawful deportations, targeting individuals because of their skin color. That's man's inhumanity to man. Everyone who's spoken today, if you just listen to those stories, they all fit under that description, man's inhumanity to man. The problem is some people have deduced that if you have darker skin, you are less than human. And people feel justified for not responding with the same amount of urgency to a black or brown person who is injured. Some people have decided that our humanity is on a lower scale. That is quite unfortunate because you cannot have a civil society unless you value all humanity the same. And these should not just be issues that we advocate for. Every community should be advocating for justice and for righteousness and for equity and for peace. And the fact that we don't have everyone advocating says to us that we've got a deeper problem in America.
Yes.
And we need to be honest about that. That says that we're still having the same faces, the same voices, the same segments of our society advocating for righteousness and peace. And that tells us that we've got a deeper systemic issue in our society. It also means that Frederick Douglass was right. That it's still true that the problem in America and in Texas is still the color line. And we must be willing to have courageous conversations about that. I'll end on this note. Dr. King also said we must learn to live together as brothers or we will perish together as fools.
Yes.
I am saying to us today that we must be about education, communication, and collaboration. And then wherever there's people in leadership who don't possess these common values, it ought to be about elimination. Okay. Because if you are holding public office and you do not value all humanity the same, public leadership is not where you belong. And so I'm hopeful, I'm prayerful. We shall not quit, we shall not give up, we shall not give in until righteousness rolls down like a mighty stream and justice like waters. Today in Texas, today in America, we still have a problem. And until we solve it, we'll never be the state we can be, we'll never be the nation we can be, we'll never be the world can be, until every street is the street that street should be.
inspiring stories from all of these leaders and individuals. We're gonna open up the floor for any questions. 3 to 5 minutes for any questions.
My name is Linda Barton, and I don't look Hispanic. I don't look any other than a white American, Caucasian, and don't call it. But I was born in Cuba, and my mother was not white by any means of the imagination, but I had a very white father. I suffer because I'm privileged, because I have blue eyes and blonde hair, and because my name is Linda Barton and not Maria Gonzalez. So I suffer because my ancestry in Cuba, there was also black. So I am standing in the forefront of seeing all this happening to you all, and I can't do anything because I don't mix. I look it, so I have to fight with you.
Could you stand up to the camera?
So I have to fight with you and know that it's solidarity. I am with all of you, regardless of what I look like, because I'm also told, why do you feel this way? Because I look who I look, and I look very gringa. I look like if I was, but I lived my whole life in Miami. There was no discrimination for Hispanics in Miami, Florida, because everybody is Hispanic in Miami, Florida. But here, it's a minority. When I first arrived in Texas, I called my mother and said, Mom, I'm not a white anymore, I'm a brown. She goes, no, mija, eso no existe. It is the truth. There's a lot of discrimination. I see it constantly. I work with it constantly when I work elections, and it's sad. And I don't feel like there's an end to it. We can only change the laws. We can only reprimand those that do harm. As a nurse, I take a pledge to take care of everybody, regardless of their color, regardless of their race, regardless of anything. And the EMS are also in that capacity. So imagine me going to the nurse's floor and not being able to take care of patients. No, I can't take care of you because you're black. It's unheard of. Or a doctor who takes the Hippocratic oath. So just know that we see you, I feel you, and it hurts. Mrs. Quito's story affected me tremendously because I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother. And it's painful because I have a granddaughter who's disabled. And I stand with all of you in solidarity, I really do. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you. Have any other questions?
If more people want to come out, where can we contact? Who do we contact?
So for cases like this, we have some lawyers up here. We have some organizations and nonprofits, like Fiel, Cesar Espinosa with Fiel, Ms. Tammy Lang with Brown Hope Community Foundation. You can contact her for any guidance. She can lead you in the right direction. We have Rob Slater, who works with a community of lawyers and has his own nonprofit. It is the Coalition Committee, Culture Commission Committee. We have Mr. Baldomero Garza, attorney, immigration and law. Mr. Bishop Dixon, our community leader, and Mr. Johnny Mata, who is the president, chair, and founder of the Greater Houston Coalition. It is a PAC and a nonprofit, and we help cases like this as well. So if you are found in this situation, you can contact these individuals here, and we can see what we can do for you. One more question, and I think we can wrap this up. We have two more.
Question.
Go ahead.
Robert. Regarding Michael Sterling, do you have any updates on that by any chance?
Sorry?
Do you have any updates regarding the Michael Sterling case?
Oh, I'm sorry. We are going back to Dallas today to demand justice as well and commit on a lawsuit. For that situation that does play here, Michael Sterling is a young man out of Dallas who was going to was on an airport at Love Field going to visit his sick mother. He's a professional chef. When he gets on the jet bridge, he was approached by uniformed officers that attacked him and accused him of carrying drugs. He didn't know what was going on, didn't read him his rights, so on and so forth. A uniformed officer approached with a taser, point blank range, shot him in the heart with the taser, and while he was on the ground, he shot him again while he was on the leg, in the leg, excuse me. Of course, they didn't find any drugs and they released him. And they said that the reasons were because they found that he had a warrant from 5 years ago for a traffic stop. And that's why we're here today with Ms. Gonzalez, because those that we entrust that are supposed to protect and serve us, it's becoming too normal that we argue and we put verbiage to it, but the law is the law. And it is time that we the people just come together and just stand up. So the update is that we are moving forward and put the same fight with Ms. Gonzalez as well. So thank you for asking.
One last question.
So my question is more about the public service aspect of it, because that covers a lot of stuff, not just police and fire, but there's a lot of, like, water also falls under public service. And there's a lot of, like, inhumanities there, if we're talking like man being inhumane towards man. So I guess my question has to do more with when it comes to the people that enforce these laws, which are our judges that interpret the law, final say and protect these officers and the misinformation or like that kind of stuff. I'm just curious, as a citizen, just a person, when you're saying you want to hear the community stories, and I see that there's people here to take the stories too, but it's like, I don't know, this is kind of depressing, and I just want to know, like, as far as wanting to share this information to others, to push change, what is it that I'm asking other people to do? I know you want us to share our stories, and then from the pain we learn, and from the pain these things come, but like if yeah, a lot of times the pain is kind of hard to share. So what? I guess I don't know exactly what I'm asking. I just want
Tangible steps.
Yeah, tangible steps. Oh, Mr. Mata, thank you.
The reason the Greater Houston Coalition for Justice was formed was for that reason. We have so many groups doing this. And we were about ready to launch a webpage that not only will provide you information, but we now need to start getting community action. I'm an old product of the Community Action Program. An EA officer, a training manager. So the community now needs to get organized so that we can send emails, phone calls, if it's in Congress, if it's in the state, and let them know. Because the voters are the final answer and the consequences for those people that don't do right. But we've been sitting down comfortable because we have all these laws. Well, tomorrow is a new day. We will be announcing on the webpage the actions we need, community groups, forums, and others. And those friends of yours that tell you, no, I don't need to go, we're okay. They're gonna be hurting. They're gonna be coming to you, and you're gonna have to tell them, organize and get active, and let's push back. Thank you.
To add to Johnny and to answer your question, it should not stop at a press conference. It needs to continue. And you need to join those organizations that are already doing the work so they can guide you and give you the resources and the tools to push this not from the bottom. To go to the top, you must start from the bottom to go to the top. So we need that noise, we need that community, we need that coalition at the bottom first, at the local level. If we don't have that, if we don't have that foundation, we won't have that change happening at the top. And simply put, just join these organizations, be active, and be on some roles. Most of these organizations are volunteer, but we all need that.
Just to add on to that, I mean, even though these stories seem depressing and whatever it be, it's important to share them because then we find out that we're not alone. Oftentimes systems tells us, you're the problem. There's something wrong with you. You don't have papers. You're the problem, right? And you feel very ashamed of it. And you don't want to tell anybody. But then you say, hey, I don't have papers. And then somebody that you went to high school with says, I didn't know you didn't have papers. My cousin doesn't have papers either. And then you begin organizing, right? And then when we begin to tell those stories, we find out that we have more in common than we do different. And our main oppressor is not each other, or it's not us, or it's not our individual circumstances,
Right.
but rather the system. And then you make friends. And then, because oftentimes they say that community or this community is your enemy. And we're not.
We're not.
When we break bread, when we talk, when we have events together and stand together, we realize that we have more in common than we do separate.
Much more.
And that's why it's important to share our stories. That's why it's important to talk about these issues, because like I said, what hurts one of us hurts all of us. And we must stand together and find community, because we, especially in Houston, we've been segregated and say, you keep to yourself, you keep to yourself, and that's done intentionally so that we don't come together. And we are, finally, on my last soapbox, we are no longer a minority. If you call black or brown people minorities,
That's myth.
it's myth.
Yeah.
Get it out of here. Don't use that word anymore.
Una familia, una cultura.